At 38 minutes past 9 on a February night, a man called 911 and told the dispatcher his girlfriend might be having an allergic reaction to food. He said they had been making cookies, painting. He said she had just gotten sick, and now she was not responding. The dispatcher walked through the checklist. Did she have a rash, swelling, hives, any of the things you would expect from a real allergic reaction? No, the man said. None of it, just sick, and now unresponsive on the floor. What he did not tell the dispatcher was what that same girlfriend had been saying only minutes earlier, on a different phone call, to her oldest friend in the world. She had not been describing a food allergy. She had been slurring that her drink tasted strange, that she could not feel her legs, that she believed the man in the room with her, the man who was now on the line with 911, had put something in her drink to hurt the baby she was carrying. Her name was Jade Benning. She was 24 years old, a chef, and almost 6 months pregnant with a daughter. She would be pronounced clinically dead before she ever reached a hospital. Her baby would not survive either. And that gap, the space between what Jade said was happening to her and what the man in the room told 911, would become one of the very first threads investigators pulled. It would take 3 years, a 9-day trial, and a witness almost nobody saw coming to finally unravel what happened in that apartment. This is the murder of Jade Benning. Before we go into that apartment, you should know who Jade was, because the man on that 911 call would spend 3 years trying to convince the world she was someone else. She was born in Little Rock, Arkansas on the 6th of March, 1998. She went to Little Rock Central High. She trained as a chef, finished culinary school in 2020, and moved to Nashville to build a career out of it. She became a head pastry chef. She ran her own catering business on the side. And the one thing every single person said about her, when they were asked to describe her at trial, was the same thing. Jade Benning was good at taking care of people. It was the center of who she was. That was not a small thing about her. It was the whole shape of her. The people who loved her described a woman who fed the people around her, who showed up, who turned caring for others into an actual profession and then did it well enough to run her own business by her mid-20s. She was the friend who cooked. She was the one who remembered. And when she found out a child was coming, that same instinct simply pointed in a new direction, toward a daughter she had not met yet. Quick thing before we keep going. If you are watching this, take a second to hit the like button and tell me in the comments what city you are watching from. It genuinely helps Jade's story reach more people, and it costs you nothing. Now here is the detail about Jade that the entire case would eventually turn on. In the fall of 2022, Jade found out she was going to be a mother. And the moment she did, she changed her whole life. She stopped drinking. She stopped using anything at all. Friends testified that she poured every ounce of her attention into the pregnancy, getting her apartment ready, planning the nursery, counting down the weeks until she would meet her daughter. She had a name picked out, Ivy. When investigators went looking, later, they found no evidence that Jade had used any drugs during that pregnancy. She had cleaned her life up completely. For a little girl she had not even met yet. Remember that, because the drug that ended Jade's life was one her body had no history of ever touching. The father of that baby was a man named Blaise Taylor. On paper, he was the last person anyone would suspect of anything. He was from Waco, Texas, the son of a college football coach. He had been a standout defensive back and a team captain at Arkansas State University. He was disciplined in a way people noticed, the rare college athlete who finished both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in business before his senior season even began. He did not drink. He did not use drugs. By the time Jade knew him, he had turned that discipline into a career in professional football, working as a scout for the Tennessee Titans. That reputation, the clean-cut, high-achieving young man on the rise, is important because it is the thing that made people give him the benefit of the doubt for far longer than they should have. It is hard to look at a team captain with 2 degrees and a job in the NFL and picture a killer. That difficulty was, in a sense, his greatest protection. Juries, friends, co-workers, all of them start from the assumption that a man like that does not do the unthinkable. Blaise Taylor lived inside that assumption for years. Jade and Blaise had met on the dating app Hinge in early 2022. It was casual, on and off, non-exclusive, both of them seeing other people. No one has ever pretended it was a great love story. It was a light, undefined thing between 2 people who were not especially serious about each other. And then, at the end of September 2022, That light thing became the most important thing in Jade's life because she learned she was pregnant. In early November, she told Blaise the baby was his. She was not asking him for anything. Not a marriage, not a home, not even a relationship. What she wanted was the child. And she offered him the easiest exit a man in his position could ask for. She told him he could go his own way, and she would go hers, and he did not have to be involved at all. She would raise the baby alone. No custody fight, no child support battle, no obligation. A clean walk away, with her blessing. Most men who did not want to be fathers would have taken that offer and never looked back. It asked nothing of him. It let him keep the exact life he already had. That should have ended his problem. Instead, according to the people who testified, it was where his fixation on making the baby disappear began. Because Jade's offer solved his logistical problem, but it did not solve the thing that actually seemed to bother him, which was the existence of the child at all. Blaise Taylor did not keep his feelings about the pregnancy private. He told people, and the people he told would 3 years later take the witness stand one after another and repeat what he had said. He told Jade's own mother, Bridget Burks, exactly where he stood. If Jade had the baby, he wanted nothing to do with it. He did not want the child to carry his name. He did not want the child to ever know who he was. He told a co-worker at the Titans, a man named McCall Johnson, that he was not ready to be a father. Not ready yet, Johnson remembered him saying, not anytime soon. Things of that nature. And running underneath all of it was one detail that boxed Blaise Taylor in. By the time Jade told him about the baby and made clear she was keeping her, it was already too late for a legal abortion. The exit he wanted was gone. The mother had decided, and a child he had said he wanted no part of was coming whether he liked it or not. So at the very end of December, Blaise did something that, looking back, changes the color of everything that came after. After weeks of wanting nothing to do with the pregnancy, he suddenly reached back out to Jade. On New Year's Day, 2023, the two of them met at a park and talked for hours. They agreed to try to get to know each other, so they could co-parent if the baby turned out to be his. To Jade, this had to look like a man finally coming around, a father who had decided at last to show up. For the next several weeks, that is exactly how it looked. They stayed in contact. They started building the ordinary, practical relationship two people need when they are about to raise a child together. Whatever Blaise Taylor was actually thinking in those weeks, he hid it well enough that Jade let him back into her life, and eventually back into her apartment, on a night when it would be just the two of them and one of her closest friends. That thaw is the thing that got him back through her door, and why that matters is a pattern I need you to understand before we go any further, because it is the pattern this entire case is built on. The most dangerous people will often tell you exactly what they are, out loud before they ever do anything about it, and almost every time, the people around them explain it away because actually believing it feels absurd. Surely he did not mean it. Surely that was just talk. You have probably done this yourself, with someone who once said something that landed wrong and you brushed it off because the alternative was too heavy to hold. That instinct, and how to know when to override it, is exactly why I wrote my book. It is called Inside the Criminal Mind, and it comes from 23 years spent across the table from people who told someone what they were going to do before they did it. It teaches you to tell the difference between a dark comment that means nothing and a genuine warning, and what to do when you cannot tell which one you just heard. The link is in the description. If it helps you take one thing seriously that you would otherwise have laughed off, it did its job. Now, the last night of Jade's life. On the 25th of February, 2023, Jade Benning was painting. She was nearly 24 weeks pregnant with a girl she had already named Ivy. She had cooked dinner, chicken Alfredo, in her own kitchen. Her best friend, Nijaya Jackson, who had known her since the two of them were 6 years old back in Little Rock, came by that evening with another friend to eat and talk about the nursery. Blaise Taylor was there too, and it was the first time Nijaya had ever met him because he had been absent for almost the entire pregnancy. Sit with that for a second. Jade's oldest friend in the world was meeting the father of Jade's baby for the very first time, 24 weeks in. The plan for the night was simple and sweet. They were going to paint 2 canvases to hang above the crib. Jade filled hers with color, soft wavy lines of green and yellow and pink, and 3 words written across it: love, hope, peace. It was exactly what you would expect from a woman who had spent months turning her life into a home for a daughter. Then someone asked Blaise what he was going to paint, and Nijaihu would later testify that, right at that moment, his mood changed. His canvas, he told the room, was going to be a black hole. That is not something invented after the fact to make him look sinister. It is what he said, out loud, at a table, while the mother of his child painted the words love and hope and peace a few feet away. A black hole. The evening wound down. Eventually, Nijaihu and the other friend gathered their things and left, and Jade and Blaise were alone in the apartment together. And somewhere around that point, Jade drank a glass of pink lemonade, an ordinary thing, a pregnant woman having a sweet drink on a quiet night in. But prosecutors would later argue that Blaise Taylor had put something into that glass, something no pregnant woman who had cleaned up her whole life for her baby would ever have swallowed on purpose. Think about the ordinariness of it, because that is the horror of it. There was no weapon in the room that anyone could see, no raised voices that the friends noticed on their way out, just a couple painting canvases for a nursery, and a glass of lemonade, and a home a young woman had made ready for her daughter. Whatever was done that night was done quietly, in plain sight, disguised as a normal evening. That is what a poisoning is. It hides inside the everyday. Before what happened next, I want to ask one small thing of you. Jade Benning died on her own birthday, carrying a daughter she had already named. Take a second and write both their names in the comments. Jade and Ivy. It means their names travel further than the name of the man who took them. Not long after that dinner, the phone rang in Nijaihu Jackson's hand. It was Jade, and something was immediately, obviously wrong. Jade was slurring. She said she had suddenly become very sick. She said she could not walk. She said she could not feel her legs. And then, still on the line, Nijaihu heard Jade turn away from the phone and begin speaking to someone else in the room. She heard Jade say that her drink tasted funny. She heard her say, "I know you put something in my drink, because I cannot even walk straight." And then she heard Jade say the thing that was frightening her most, more than her own body giving out beneath her. She said, "You did this so something would happen to the baby." The person Jade was speaking to was Blaise Taylor, and on that call, which ran about 6 minutes, he barely said a word. When he did speak, he said he did not have anything. He said Jade was the one scaring him. Picture that. A woman is telling her lifelong friend, in real time, that she cannot feel her legs and that the father of her child has done something to her and to her baby, and the man standing right there offers, for the record, that she is the one being frightening. By the time help reached the apartment, roughly 20 minutes later, Jade Benning was found face down across her bed, without a pulse. And then came the 911 call. At 38 minutes past 9, Blaise Taylor dialed for help, but he did not tell the dispatcher any of what Jade had just said. He did not mention the drink, or her legs, or her accusation. He said he thought she might be having an allergic reaction to food. He said they had been making cookies and painting. When the dispatcher asked about the signs of a real allergic reaction, the rash, the swelling, the hives, he said there were none. He said she had vomited and was not responding. He said he did not even know of anything Jade was allergic to. And in his own account to investigators later, he added a detail that did him no favors. He said that when Jade got sick, the first person he called was not 911. It was his father, who told him to call for help. Two versions of the same few minutes. In one, a pregnant woman is telling everyone who will listen that her drink tasted wrong and that the man beside her has hurt her baby. In the other, that same man is calmly telling a dispatcher it looks like a food allergy. Jade Benning never really came back. She was clinically dead before the ambulance could get her to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Doctors managed to restart her heart and put her on life support, but the damage was already done. Her unborn daughter, Ivy, held on for 2 more days before she died, on the 27th of February. And Jade herself lingered. Her family gathered around a hospital bed, hoping for something the doctors could not give them. She was taken off life support on the 6th of March, 2023. That date is the one that stays with you. The 6th of March was Jade Benning's 25th birthday. She was born on that day, and 25 years later she died on it. A chef who had spent her final healthy months getting ready to be a mother, gone on the anniversary of her own arrival, along with the daughter she had already named and painted a nursery for. Prosecutors would later describe how Jade lingered and languished in that hospital bed for days before the end came, her family keeping watch, forced to make the kind of decision no family should ever have to make, twice over, for a mother and for her child. Her family has described her, ever since, as a radiant soul. And for a long stretch after they buried her, it looked like the man they believed responsible was simply going to go on with his life, several states away, as if none of it had ever happened. For a while, that is precisely what happened. Blaise Taylor left Tennessee not long after Jade died. He took a new job in football, moving to Utah to work as a senior defensive analyst for Utah State University. To anyone who did not know what had happened in Nashville, he looked like a promising young coach building a career. But the investigation did not move on. Metro Nashville detectives spent months on it, working the phone data, the text messages between Jade and Blaise, the timeline of that night, the toxicology results. They pulled the digital record of the relationship, the messages that captured his reaction to the pregnancy, and the sudden thaw at the start of the year. They mapped the hours of that final evening against the call logs. They tracked what time the dinner happened, what time the phone call to Nijai came in, what time the 911 call was placed, and what that sequence said about who was in the room and what was happening in it. Piece by piece, over the course of about a year, a picture assembled that pointed in one direction. And in March of 2024, about a year after Jade's death, they arrested Blaise Taylor in Logan, Utah. Their belief, stated plainly in their announcement, was that he had poisoned Jade Benning without her knowledge on the night of the 25th of February. His bond was set at $2.5 million. He posted it, walked out, and was ordered to wear a GPS monitor while he waited for trial. The wait was long. More than 3 years passed between the night Jade collapsed and the day a jury would finally decide what happened to her. And when the trial arrived, in the summer of 2026, the prosecution's problem was obvious to everyone in the courtroom. There was no confession. There was no video of anyone tampering with a drink. There was no eyewitness to the poisoning itself. This was a circumstantial case, built on behavior, on timing, and on toxicology. And I have to be honest with you about the weaknesses in that case, because they were real, and the defense built its entire strategy on them. The first weakness was the crime scene, and it fell apart not because of the police, but because of grief and panic. On the night Jade was rushed to the hospital, her mother was far away, unable to reach anyone official, desperate to do something, anything. So she asked one of Jade's coworkers to go into the apartment, to take some photos, to blow out a candle that was still burning, to lock the place up and bring her the keys. Other friends went in as well and moved things around in the process. By the time police executed a search warrant, the apartment was no longer the way it had been that night, and the lead detective, Adam Reese, testified to one detail the defense would return to again and again. In the very first photos taken inside the apartment, there was a cup sitting in front of Jade. By the time investigators arrived to collect evidence, that cup was gone. The scene was compromised. Nobody disputed it, and in a poisoning case, where the entire question is what was in the drink, a missing cup is not a small problem. It is close to the whole problem. The second weakness was the medical evidence, and it cut both ways. The Davidson County medical examiner, Dr. Aaron Carney, testified that Jade Benning had an extremely high level of cocaine in her system when she died. Not a modest amount. More, Carney said, than could be explained by ordinary recreational use. And crucially, Jade had no history of using cocaine at all. The investigation, Carney testified, gave no indication that Jade used drugs historically, or recently, or anywhere close to the time of her death. That was the fact the prosecution built everything on. A fatal amount of a drug Jade had never touched, inside the body of a woman who had scrubbed her life clean for her pregnancy. Prosecutors also tied the medical testimony to the second death, the baby's. They asked Carney whether, based on the autopsy, Jade would otherwise have been expected to carry a healthy pregnancy. The answer pointed to a child who had been developing normally, a daughter who had every reason to be born healthy until the night everything stopped. That testimony mattered, because Ivy's death carried a charge of its own, and the state needed the jury to understand that the baby had not been lost to some pre-existing complication. She had been lost because her mother was poisoned. But the medical examiner also said things the defense held on to tightly. Asked how the cocaine had actually gotten into Jade's body, Carney was honest about the limits of what she could prove. "I do not know how it was ingested," she testified. "I just know it was ingested." And when it came to the official manner of death, her ruling was not homicide, it was undetermined. There was also fentanyl in Jade's system, though Carney testified that came from her treatment at the hospital, not from the night itself. The defense pressed on every one of those gaps, even questioning whether Carney had simply accepted the police account that Jade had no drug history rather than establishing it herself. A defense expert testified that Jade's symptoms looked, to him, more consistent with fentanyl than cocaine. So the picture the jury faced was genuinely hard. On one side, a woman with a lethal level of a drug she had never used, who had cleaned up her whole life for her pregnancy, who told her best friend in real time that her drink tasted funny and that the man beside her had done something to her baby. On the other side, a compromised scene, a missing cup, and a medical examiner who could not say for certain how the drug got in or officially call it murder. That is a case a jury could have walked away from. To understand why they did not, you have to meet the witness the prosecution had been holding on to, the one who turned this from a suspicious death into a pattern. Her name was Apple Denny, and she took the stand in a rare weekend session of the trial. She testified that she had dated Blaise Taylor, on and off, back in 2017, 6 years before Jade Benning died, and she described how during that time, Blaise had come to her upset, erratic. He told her he had gotten a woman pregnant and that he did not want to have a baby with her. Then, Denny testified, he told her what he wanted to do about it. He had been searching things online, trying to figure out if there was a way to make the woman have an abortion without her agreeing to it. And he asked Apple to help him get abortion pills so that he could either make the woman take them or put them in her drink. Let that line settle for a moment. 6 years before Jade Benning drank a glass of pink lemonade and told her best friend it tasted funny, Blaise Taylor had described, to a completely different girlfriend, a plan to end a completely different pregnancy by secretly putting a substance into a pregnant woman's drink. The same motive, a woman pregnant with his child and him not wanting it. The same method, something slipped into her drink without her knowledge to make the pregnancy go away. Back in 2017, nothing came of it. For one reason, Apple Denny refused. She talked him out of it. A woman Blaise Taylor was angry with, a stranger Apple would never meet, stayed unharmed because someone in the room said no. That is why prosecutors put Apple Denny on the stand. Not to prove a crime from 2017, because there was not one. They put her there to show the jury a pattern. As the prosecutor told the jury, this was a witness who had once had to talk Blaise Taylor out of putting something in another woman's drink, a woman who was refusing to have an abortion, so that he could cause that abortion without her ever knowing. In a case with a compromised scene and an undetermined manner of death, that testimony did something the physical evidence could not. It answered the exact question the defense most wanted planted in the jury's mind. Would a disciplined, accomplished, clean-cut young man really do something this cold, this calculated? Apple Denny's answer, under oath, was that he had described doing this precise thing years earlier, when Jade Benning was still a total stranger to him. The prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney Jan Norman, put it to the jury in the plainest terms she could. He goes over there to the date night, Norman said, with cocaine to put in her drink. In her telling, the motive was not complicated and had never changed. The baby was his. He did not want it. And when the legal options for making it disappear had run out, he fell back on the one he had already imagined years before, with a different woman, in a different city. The drink was the method he kept returning to, because a drink is quiet, and a drink can be called an accident. The prosecution stacked more on top of that testimony. Jade's mother describing a father who wanted his child to never know his name. The coworker describing a man who said he was not ready to be a father, not anytime soon. And Jade's own words, relayed by the best friend who heard them, spoken while it was happening. Laid side by side, they told a single story, and it was not a story about an accident. There was one more battle running underneath the whole trial, and it was a battle over Jade herself. The defense's theory needed the jury to see Jade as a drug user, because if Jade used drugs, then a fatal dose of cocaine could be reframed as a tragic accident instead of a murder. So the defense worked to paint that picture, telling the jury that Jade had a history with marijuana, mushrooms, Adderall, and alcohol. The prosecution's answer was the same fact we started with, and this is why it matters so much. Whatever Jade's life had looked like at other times, she had stopped. She had turned everything toward her pregnancy. The medical examiner found no sign she was a cocaine user at all, and no sign she had been using anything as her due date approached. The careless drug user the defense needed the jury to imagine did not match the woman her friends and her doctors actually described, a mother-to-be counting down the weeks until she could meet her daughter. That contest, over who Jade Benning really was ran right up to the final day. The defense fought hard, and their arguments deserved to be laid out fairly, because they were not nothing. Their lead attorney, Letitia Quinones Hollins, went after the idea of premeditation with the clock. Jade had invited Blaise over for a spontaneous date night. He had, at most, about 3 hours between that invitation and the drink. Folding an elaborate, carefully planned murder into a last-minute evening in that narrow window was a stretch, she argued. So now the spontaneous plan is 3:50, she told the jury. He has 3 hours to cook up the elaborate plan to kill her. She leaned on the medical examiner's own uncertainty, the undetermined manner of death, the admission that no one could say for sure how the drug got into Jade's body. She reminded the jury the scene had been compromised, the cup gone, and she pointed out something true. Blaise Taylor was the one who called 911. He was the one who stayed with Jade at the hospital. Would a guilty man do that? It was a real defense. It handed the jury a door if they wanted to walk through it. They did not. On the 1st of July, 2026, on the 9th day of the trial, the jury deliberated for only about 2 hours before they came back. 2 hours. After a 9-day trial, a compromised scene, and an undetermined manner of death, it took them barely more than a lunch break to agree on what had happened in that apartment. They found Blaise Taylor guilty. 2 counts of felony murder, 1 count of second-degree murder in the death of Jade Benning, and, for the death of the daughter Jade had named Ivy, 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder. That last conviction is worth pausing on, because of what it means the jury decided. First-degree premeditated murder is not a verdict for an accident, or an overdose, or a terrible mistake. It is a finding that Blaise Taylor acted deliberately, with intent, to end that unborn child's life. Jade's family held each other and cried in the courtroom as the verdict was read. Blaise Taylor was sentenced to life in prison. Under Tennessee's rules, that life sentence still carries a distant possibility of parole, and he does not become eligible for it for 51 years, which, at 30 years old, most likely means the rest of his life behind bars. To Jade's family, even that was not enough. "We were actually hoping for life without parole," her father Dennis Browning said afterward, but he also said the words the family had waited more than 3 years to be able to say. "We are definitely glad everything is over, and justice is served." Jade's mother, Bridget Burks, who had once had to sit on a witness stand and repeat her own daughter's words about a father who wanted nothing to do with his child, finally felt some measure of relief after everything the family had endured. 1 remaining count carried a separate sentencing date later in the year, and when reporters asked the defense whether they planned to take the case to a higher court, the answer made clear that an appeal was still on the table. But for Jade's family, the central question had finally been answered. The man who came to a date night and said his canvas would be a black hole had been named, by 12 people, as the person responsible for 2 deaths. Step back from the clock, and the cup and the toxicology reports, and what this case comes down to is a single uncomfortable question. How many times does a person have to tell you what he is before you believe him? Blaise Taylor said it in 2017 when he asked Apple Denny to help him put something in a pregnant woman's drink. He said it to Jade's mother when he told her he wanted his own child to never know his name. He said it to a coworker when he said he was not ready to be a father, not anytime soon. He said it in his own strange shorthand at a dinner table when he looked at a canvas meant for a nursery and called his a black hole. And Jade herself said it, out loud on the phone, in the last clear minutes she had, when she told her oldest friend that her drink tasted funny and that he had done it to hurt the baby. The pattern was never hidden, it was spoken, again and again, over 6 years, to anyone who happened to be standing nearby. The only thing missing, every single time until the last, was someone who believed it in time to stop it. And that is the hard, useful thing to carry out of Jade Benning's story. These signs were not subtle. They were not buried in a locked phone or a private diary. They were said out loud, to a girlfriend, to a mother, to a coworker, and finally by Jade herself, into a telephone, as it was happening to her. In 2017, 1 woman heard the plan and refused to help, and a stranger she would never meet stayed alive because of it. 6 years later, there was no one in that apartment to play the same part. The difference between those 2 outcomes was not luck. It was whether somebody took the word seriously. Jade Tristan Benning was born on the 6th of March, 1998, and she died on the 6th of March, 2023. In between, she became a chef, built a business, cleaned up her entire life for a daughter, and painted a canvas with 3 words on it to hang above a crib: love, hope, peace. Her daughter Ivy never got to see it. Say their names so they outlast his: Jade and Ivy Benning.